Hey folks, I have read your teaching plans today and have given you feedback in the tool that was provided. As you know, this assignment was assigned to be done on the worksheet template that was provided. So that's where you're going to find your feedback for this assignment. This is such an important assignment for you to really understand. As you were going through the process, I suspect that many of you were thinking, that this really was very tedious and time consuming, and, maybe even parts of it felt unnecessary. Like in your head, you were thinking, okay, well, this is just silly. This should be understood. Um, Parts of that are true. And some things you will do, when you've been teaching for a little while, you're not going to write them down. You're just going to know what you need in the classroom. You're going to know how to set up the classroom without jotting down notes. Good teaching requires intentional planning. So while right now this feels a little tedious and maybe some sections may feel like, okay, I feel like this isn't really a necessary step, I want you to trust me that creating the habits of mind of remembering all of these pieces that go into a well-developed teaching plan is going to pay off in dividends when you're actually doing it in the classroom or in the hospital setting. Good teaching requires good planning, and my hope is that you're going to get a little bit more comfortable with this tool. You're going to do it again in week 7. You'll do a teaching plan on service learning. So you're going to take the feedback that's been provided to you on this teaching plan and apply it to the teaching plan designed for week 7, which is very topic specific related to servant learning. As you go through the feedback that's been provided to you in this teaching plan, you're going to have to begin to think about how you're going to make any needed adjustments so that you can properly implement your presentation in week 8. I want to remind you that your week 8 presentation is on this topic. You were assigned to develop a teaching plan for about 15 to 20 minutes, and you're going to video yourself presenting that material to your population. And all of you chose an in-class or in-person presentation. No one chose a virtual audience. So all of you should be planning for videoing yourself teaching the material that you've offered. Now, that may mean, especially if you're going to keep it into that 15-minute teaching time frame, you may not have enough time to do it all. But if you present your teaching plan, your content, fairly straightforward, and at the end, it's okay for you to mention, okay, folks, I'm going to give you the post-test that we talked about at the beginning of the class. I don't need to see everybody sitting and taking a test. But you do need to touch on the elements that are required so that I know that it's been implemented within the classroom setting. So just think about what 15 to 20 minutes of this teaching plan are salient that cover the cognitive, the psychomotor, and the affective domain, and I can use that to demonstrate to Dr. Hudgens that I've done what I said I'm going to do. And if you've created a teaching plan that I've given you feedback that is way longer than 15 to 20 minutes, you don't have to redo the whole thing. What you do have to do is go back in and figure out, okay, what part of this can I use and be more focused and intentional in keeping to that time frame? I'm sure many of you have had the experience that I have, which is the sage on the stage teaching, where someone walks into a lecture hall and they talk at you for about 2 to 3 hours, depending on how long you're being punished. We know that students stop listening to content that's being offered after about 15 minutes. They begin to multitask. They begin to be distracted by other things. So the reason I've asked you to keep this time limited is to help you practice teaching to a topic and teaching without reading lecture notes and without reading PowerPoints, but really going in and focusing on highlighted elements of your content that is difficult for students to understand. So if you have a PowerPoint presentation and it has 30 slides, maybe 5 of those slides really require attention, and your lecture should be crafted to those 5 key elements that you had in that original PowerPoint set, and let them read the rest of those PowerPoint slides, or let them read the rest of that in their textbook, but you spend intentional time focusing on those 5 key elements instead of 30 whole slides. You want to plan your time so that you're using it appropriately to maintain your audience's interest, as well as focusing on the highlighted points, not telling people things that they already know. And remember, students are going to stop listening after about 15 minutes. They're going to start multitasking. So you need to begin to think about, how am I going to keep my students engaged if my content requires me to talk further than that? And then how am I going to create an environment that cultivates active learning and not passive learning? And all of that can be down the road. For now, know that the 15 to 20 minutes is intentional. It is to discipline you to your topic and help you stay focused and to really understand the intentional planning of this. So you guys have done a really good job. There's so many cool topics that, me and my mental health brain, I see things and I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. So it's always interesting for me to see kind of where you guys are in your practice and what areas that you're interested in. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any notes about APA. You guys are doing well with that. No, I think that's good. Let's talk briefly about next week. Your practicum log number 2 is due. Make sure that you go in and read the feedback that's been provided to you in Typhon related to any changes. The big thing for you guys, if I remember correctly, was making sure that your hours for your goals and objectives was included in the duration column as well as your goals and objective column. So remember, you did goals and objective work in 617. Those hours, you should have 5 hours under your duration column, but then to the right, you should also have 5 hours under your goals and objective column. Make sure that 618 does the same thing, that you have 5 hours in your goals and objectives, and then your 5 hours in your duration column. When you finish 620, that duration column should have 200 or more hours allocated in that column. So just make sure that that's where your primary calculation is occurring. Occasionally, you may want to subdivide into those other sections. Let's say if you go to a conference, you're going to put those hours in the far left column. I think that's research and professional development. And then you've got your goals and objective column that maybe that's where research is. Anyway, those last two columns are occasionally used to subdivide hours. Anything that's in those last 2 columns all have to be approved by the faculty teaching the course. So you can't use time for research or time to go to conferences unless that's been approved by your faculty that's managing the course that you're enrolled in. So outside of those exceptions, everything else needs to roll into your duration column. So fix that first. Add the hours that are included on log 2 and then begin log 2, and making sure that you're listening to that feedback that's been provided or reading that feedback that's been provided and moving forward correctly focused. The second assignment that is due is your technology paper next week. You're being asked to take 3 new technologies and investigate them. The expectation is that you're going to pick things that you don't already use, and you're going to go onto their website or their software site and really investigate. How much does this cost? What are the security risks? What's the utility of it? How can I use this innovatively in my teaching? The idea behind this assignment is to build the tools in your toolbox. Now, I realize many of you are in a teaching environment. Maybe you're already using things. You'll have to use your own discretion in how adventurous you get in finding new teaching technologies to use. My encouragement is to investigate something you don't already know about and spend some time learning something new, because that develops you. You're going to write a paper about that. Keep in mind that 2 of those have to come from the list that's provided. The third one can be something that you use that maybe I don't know about to put on that list. Something that would be different that you've used in practice and had a lot of success with that's related to technology. I'm okay with that third one being something new that you have found, and you can use that in that setting. Remember, this is an APA paper. It's okay because it does have a reflection element to use, the first person, but you do need to remember that it needs to be supported. You need to make sure you know how to properly cite websites, make sure you know the required elements for that, and that you're using level headings. This paper, just because of the smaller granular detail, is going to lend itself to level 1, level 2, and maybe level 3, depending on how you organize your paper. However you choose to organize it well. At this point, you should be pretty fluid with using level headings to organize your writing. Know that I'm here. I know at this point, summer is in full swing. Lots of kids are out of school. People are trying to plan vacations around life, and the teaching environment, especially if you're in an academic setting, everybody's trying to get off campus. So I suspect that you are like I am, where you're kind of running out of road. It's okay to work ahead if you need to. Just plan accordingly, and wait for feedback before you post things in Blackboard. Know that I am here, and know that I am praying for you. I will look forward to reading your new practicum logs and seeing your work on your technology paper next week. Touch base with questions. Take care.